license effect. When
The
authority
license.
figures disregard social graces, that means disregarding social graces, and followers interpret that as a moral exemption to do the same.
Well, a great question. Of course, Nicole would have to have me go into my
Come on.
technology. So this is great. So just when you bring it
Where you
down,
at? Yeah.
can you hear me?
No, no, I was saying where you are. Let's see your picture as you give your.
Oh, sorry. I was in my.
Hmm.
Okay, you got me.
Yeah.
All right, good. All right. So what I would say to that is that a lot of times when we are engaging in, I would say social, this at the word social graces. So that looks um, like empathy, how we view other people, kindness, how we interpret the behavior, right? How we interpret other people's behavior. So that's what we talk about social graces, right? If we look at that, so the norm. Then
Hmm.
it's other things that we have, the norms of maybe not so much so like being rude or disrespectful, things of that nature. So we have different areas of social graces of behavior. I'm talking about from a social part of behavior psychology a little bit, possibly, of how we behave. And so I think a lot of times when we look at the moral licensing, I guess we could say, I think it has grown over time. And I would call it maybe moral disengagement. I don't think that we really, people here are, there's certain things that un, we don't, the unethical part of us seeing humans as humans. Because as leaders, or like you're talking about the leaders in the avenue of the licensing effect, and this is the first time I've heard about the licensing effect. Um, for me, it signals power. Would you say that, Dr. Clarke? Sounds like it's
Yeah.
signaling power.
Basically, what is attempting, or the thought that she shared, which was a great thought. It's almost as if that people are following based upon what their authority figures are doing. So, as you said, we have individuals now in political power, certain people. We have social media that has created, avenues where people who end up with a platform can reach millions or sometimes billions of people, the potential. And based upon their viewpoints, they're stirring or creating a social atmosphere for a particular product, substance, or even thought. And then the people who follow them start saying, "Well, I'm on the extreme right, and I've heard this person say on this newscast or that news network such and such and such, and so I'm going to run with it as well." And sometimes there's no checks and balances. There's no, is that true what you're saying? No. Who cares if it's true or not? If they're talking about, we're going to talk about, black people or a bunch of whatevers, that has to be what it is, because this authority person said that, like a couple of years ago when Trump talked about Africa, and it says, there's a bunch of, I hate to say it like this, but this is what he said, a bunch of shithole countries over there. And it's like, wait a minute, first of all, what? That's the cradle of civilization. Everyone came from Africa. I don't care how pompous you think you are, how arrogant you think you are. That's where life started. But for you to feel empowered, and this is definitely during the fact when he was the 45th president, and it's like, that those norms are starting to become very, how should I say it? No longer social norms. It's like, the whole thing of being, having some level of respect, or even if you have a thought, you don't always put your mind on loudspeaker. Now all minds are on loudspeaker. So if that helps with to paraphrase or to build upon what Nicole was sharing.
Yeah, and then when you opened up something there, I think we leaders can establish a positive or negative stance,
Mm-hmm.
and reflecting whatever you're discussing Like if you take a Charlie Kirk or you take a Martin Luther King or you take these people and what they're saying, it's they're building from their own values. So their communication and what their stance is, people will then say, okay, well, this person is, and they think that they're completely right. They think they're completely right. But I think establishing and modeling integrity, I think we've lost a little bit of that. I think we've lost a little bit of establishing even empathy for people. I'm noticing that the human beings that are being lined up and then watching the commercials that if you're illegal here, your runway is going to, that gives you license, I should say, to say, come up to somebody you're not ICE. You dress up like ICE, and that gives you license to go up to someone from another culture and then say, are you legally here? And you don't have any credentials, you don't have anything, you have no right to go up to that person and say something, but because you see the enforcement of the ads that say, if you are illegal here, this is your runway. So people take on that because our president gives authority to people that don't necessarily even have the license to be in that space. So it's like, I'm driving a car because my father taught me how to drive a car at 14, but I don't have a license. But I'm going to drive the car because my model was that my father taught me how to drive this car, but I never really got a license. But I can drive a car. You can maybe drive that car really well, but who gives you the license to go ahead and do that because someone modeled and showed you how to do it? So you could have been modeled something, but do you have the right and the license to do that? And do you have the integrity to stand in that? And do you have the right to stand in that? And should you be standing in that? Do you even have the license to do that? And some people that do have the license, they do take it over the edge with the license. They do, what is that word when they abuse their license? So to answer that, I hope we answered you, Nicole, between the both of us. Oh, here, she put
You
more.
did. Thank you.
Moral disengagement, a process of rationalization that allows individuals to engage in behavior that violates their moral standards without feeling distress or guilt, the American Psychological Association. And she gave you some claps saying that's that earned doctorate.
Yeah, you took me off of that one. I had to go deep, and I couldn't even get you. Yeah, that was off the dome. So I thank Dr. Clarke to help me to open up there for that. But thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Mr. Guthrie, come on. I know you, one of the intellectuals here. What says you? Let me start just calling people.
I'm traveling, so I'm going to be very brief. But my comment really is another example of it is illegal to have a opinion if you're Black. That's what the suggestion is here. And definitely it's illegal, even more so illegal, to have an opinion if you're Black that is not the popular opinion among other cultures. I'll leave it there for the time being.
No problem. That was good. That was good. Let's see. Mr. Singleton, Mr. Accountability Coach, what say you? Give y'all opportunities to drop some bars. Mr. Guthrie dropped a bar. I like that. Wasn't long, wasn't drawn out. Let's see. Mr. Singleton is now going to come to the play. Let's go to Miss Cooper. Mrs. Cooper, let me say that correctly, because we don't want Mr. Cooper to think she's out here acting like she's a Miss Cooper. That's Mrs. Cooper. Mrs. Cooper, what say you?
I just find this whole conversation really interesting, and I just have so many thought processes behind it. One of them I'm definitely present to is what you said about, Michelle Obama saying us taking the high road. Sometimes for me, it's just not worth engaging. So I rather use emotional IQ with it, because they are who they are, you know, and I just choose not to really, because it's exhausting for one thing. They've always said what they wanted to say and did what they wanted to do. But I know me personally, when I felt the need to say something, I've said it in such a way that it quite often stunned and had them thinking without, like you said, without the vitriol behind it, and then they would leave me alone. Um, I was debating on whether or not I even wanted to share this tidbit, but my son is playing football in New York, and you know, this family, as you all know, go Eagles, have a great passion for football. It's this our family bonding. And all of our sons had grew up in it. And Malik was taught to protect the quarterback. So that's what he did. Well, his head coach came up to him and grabbed his helmet and started pulling it down. Malik had no idea who was doing that, where it came from. So he kind of put his hands up under the coaches and like kind of flailed his arms out. And when he looked up, he saw it was the coach, and he like looked at him like, what's going on with you? So he went to do it again. Malik did the same move. He said, "Don't put your hands on me." Now, my son is 23 years old. This is a white coach. But why did you feel so emboldened to do that? It's a football game for one thing, and he was protecting a white quarterback. It's like, what are we doing here? So just make a long story short, he kept barking in Malik's face. Malik said, "Look, you need to calm down. I'm not going to talk to you until you calm down." Again, he's marching behind Malik, and Malik turned around and said, "I'm not talking to you, coach, until you calm down." So he had to fall back. But what I'm saying is it was Malik's presence and the fact that he stood there and said, don't put your hands on me. Now, I later found out that, Malik was in his office, and Malik said he had to apologize to at least 10 times. But again, what made you feel so emboldened in front of all of the fans, everybody? Like, this football game was being televised.
My God.
I'm complete, but I'm glad that my son had his father, my husband, in his life to stand 10 toes down and say, "Don't let nobody put their hands on you." And by the way, my husband, I didn't go to the game, thank God, but my husband came in at halftime, and one of the fans came down and said, "Your son is a dog. He a real one." He said, because he was taught like not to let nobody put their hands on you unless it's your father. And my husband was puzzled because he was like, "Well, what happened?" But he didn't bother to ask the guy, but he didn't put the pieces together until the game was over and the coach wasn't there. And he said, "Dad, it was a reason why you wasn't there." And I do believe Malik had to be a man and just stand up and say, "Don't put your hands on me. I'm complete."
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And that goes back to, as we answer the question from Ms. Johnson, and we think about it, sometimes, and Malik proved that at that moment, even though Malik didn't go low, what Malik did was Malik created an atmosphere and says, "Look, you're going to respect my space." And there are times that we notice that as Black and brown people, it's almost as if we don't have the right to respect our space, or you shouldn't move in an area where, wait a minute, I have enough respect for myself that no, you're not going to treat me any type of way because you think you feel you have the right to. And that goes back to the whole thing of, you teach people how to treat you. You teach people the same way that a man, if he's in a relationship with a woman, you're showing her how you desire to be loved, in the same way she's showing him how she desires to be loved. And somewhere in that middle, as long as we're in that dance that we're learning each other, then we're respecting the relationship enough to say, wait a minute, it's not about just my way, it was just about your way. We're figuring out all those little nuances that we can coexist together. And there are too many times where, other communities feel as if we're supposed to be, satisfied, or we're supposed to just, respect the fact of, this is how we're going to treat you. So, you should just understand it and accept it. And that's just the norm. That's just the social grace. That's just the social atmosphere that we're navigating through. I can disrespect you. You can't disrespect me. And how dare you think that you have the right to have your deductive reasoning and critical thinking to think that you can speak up to me. And that's the reason why when you hear the backlog and the backstory about, this whole, we're fighting against wokeism, when you hear the stupidness from these people that are part of this current federal administration. And the reason why they keep talking about that, because there was a time frame where stuff like this would have went on, stuff like this would have happened, and people would have been like, okay, that's just how the United States is. Okay, let's not rock the boat. Okay, if you speak up, you're not being a good citizen, or you're not being that nice little black person that just supposed to sit there and just says, we know we treating you like the N-word, but you was a good little N-word and you didn't fight back. And like, as you gave the story about Malik, or as we give our own respective stories, just to be respected as a man, or as a woman, as a black man, or as a black woman. And it's like, no, we're not taking this anymore. And like we've already said this is the statistics over the past couple of weeks, but like it's even getting worse now with them, firing the whole division of the Department of Education. All this was part of their plan. When you hear the foolishness about the Democrats is the reason why the government shut down, it's a lie. This is part of their game plan and blueprint from Project 2025. How do you fire pretty much every staff member from the department that deals with special education that helps to filter out the information to the broad country? What are you doing? I thought that we're supposed to be here to empower the next generation. That means children with IEPs, people who get special services, people who are supposed to have that covering, that benchmark. So we making sure that these students, since we always want to throw out the whole mental health thing when we see another white kid shoot up a school. What are you talking about here? But you're going to remove you're going to fire these 4,000 people specific from this one department, not furloughed, not the same way as other federal employees, not getting their check. No. We're just getting rid of them. And it just makes you wonder, how did we get to the space that you're so emboldened? Because you're white? Because you're Caucasian? No, that doesn't give you the right. You're not better than me. You're not greater than me. I'm not going to, just like my children, don't walk around those spaces with your head down. Walk with your head up. Look people up. You don't have to look every person up. Allow yourself to be in a space like, wait, whoa. And that's why I love the story that you shared just now about Malik. Malik was like, wait a minute, I'm still going to keep my social graces. But at the same time, you're not putting your hands on me. I'm going to respect you. But if you keep, and as Malik showed by having some level of restraint doesn't show weakness. Restraint shows, I'm about to pop in your throat. Maybe get kicked off this team or embarrass you on local or national television. You're going to end up on SportsCenter. But a coach grabbed one of their players and the player co-cocked them and knocked them out. But he showed restraint. That's why when you hear people say, do not take my kindness for weakness. Just because I'm not the rah-rah. Don't get me in the space when I get rah-rah. Don't get me. Sure remembers me because we've been together for so long. There's a difference of dealing with Gregory and there's a difference of dealing with Esquire. You don't want to deal with Esquire. Deal with Gregory. Gregory got some seasoning. Gregory's going to move in some level of I'm still going to defend myself, but there's going to be a little restraint because I'm still looking at the bigger picture. Esquire is that person that was from the streets, and I'd rather always be Gregory. I'll rather walk away and be like, yo, before I go down that road, I'll walk away. Because I don't want to hear sorry or an apology or this, that, and then we're starting to go through all these semantics because I'm responding to whatever it is that you sent out towards me. But like today, to see me put that picture, not a video, not me talking trash, not me, attempting to stir the pot, says, no, for this day, October 14th, which happens to be George Floyd's birthday, this is a day of remembrance. He was a human being. Not only the fact that he was a black man and he has the same hue color as me, but he was a human. He was born on this day. The person that he was screaming for when the idiot who murdered him had his knee on his neck, birthed him on this day. He was a human being. We're going to remember that. The same way that you would love to throw in our face and say we should be remembering Charlie Kirk. You must be out of your damn mind. So let's see who else hasn't really tried. I see Mr. Singleton has come back into the building, so we open up the space for you to give your thought, and then we'll go to Mr. Davis.
I'll just be real quick, and thank you for creating this space. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, just amazed at the keyboard warriors that are out there that are pretty they can type something, but definitely if it's they know that post is from Gregory and not from Esquire. Just Gregory, you hit an internet, Esquire.
And it shows that that has my whole name with D Min, so it's like, oh, he has a doctorate degree, so you're not talking to some troll out there. It's like, wait a minute, and there's a verified check mark. It's like, wait a minute. So it's like, wait a minute, y'all are really emboldened. This is interesting. It's an interesting social dynamic.
It really is. It really shows you where people are and what people are going to, the depths people are going to go to, and then the emboldenedness of that. And so this is definitely a comeback conversation to be had regarding this. It's like, wow, I didn't know that. Like you said, this wasn't your intent. Your intent was to put that there, and all of a sudden, the quote unquote algorithm decided to say, hey, let's share this amongst this, that, all the other positive stuff you do, the prayers, the everything there. We're not gonna push that out there, but it's
it's mind-boggling. It was just very, very mind-boggling. I was thinking about that. I said, wait a minute. When I saw that Facebook contacted me, and it wasn't like I was did something wrong. It says, no, sir. And it was like I saw it. I was like, wait a minute. So Facebook is contacting me because this is a very popular post that you have here. I'm like, that's scary to me. That means that's why it says this is an algorithmic thing, because that means when we share our positive stuff or we're talking about our respective communities, we may get crickets. It may get pushed out to a little bit of people. It may get pushed out to maybe some of your followers and stuff like that. Or sometimes you have to put the post in it, towards my followers, so your followers at least can get an opportunity to see what you have posted that day. And it's like, oh, usually, a couple of clicks here and there. It's okay. At least I know it was sent out. But this was something else. It's like, wait a minute. So the algorithm, which is helping your platform, has decided that this was worth pushing out so it can stimulate what? So that just lets me know, it's like this was a great exercise today in a lesson. It was a great lesson to learn. That if you put vitriol out there, or if you're divisive, or you desire to be like Charlie Kirk, or like when Kevin Samuels was alive and stuff like that, that stuff, I guess they want, because they said, you helping us. You're creating, even if it's angst, you're creating this advertisement boom for us. So yeah, that's the stuff we're gonna push out. But if you pushing out stuff that's positive, or like how Dr. Cheryl has a Girl You Cute movement, okay, unless you're paying them or being consistently giving them some sort of finances, oh yeah, this stuff will go but so far. You won't really get it out there. Because I know most of these people that have responded, though, probably close to 500 responses on this one post and shares and all kind of other stuff that's going on. It's like, wait a minute, where are these people when I'm putting out something positive? Makes you wonder. Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis.
Yeah,
Yes, Mr. Davis.
yeah, I got a little. This might be a little bit long, but I have an idea or maybe a perspective that social media could be worked for the good, and it also could be worked for the bad. And I'm using this as I had a conversation with this young white man. I knew him since he was a kid. We went to church and everything like that. And as he got older, he's about 24, 25 years old right now. And I realized that his perspectives have changed a lot because he grew up in a black church. Oh. At 25, I see that social media and maybe some of his friends are encouraging him to be more like a Charlie Kirk type person. And we had this long conversation about it on media after Charlie Kirk had died. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asking what changed your perspective or everything. Like, what did Charlie Kirk said that changed your perspective on a lot of things? I'm like, your stepfather is a black man. He raised you. Why are you listening to a person that puts down that type of rhetoric? And now you seem like you're believing and you're walking in the same light of a person that's not, from everything you know, it's changing. From what I understand, people's perspectives change, but why is your perspective going towards a direction that you know is not the right? If Charlie Kirk talking about African American man, the father's not being present, but this African American raised you since you was 6 years old, and now you're 25. Why are you? What made the change in your life to follow this man? I'm coming up with, it has to be social media. It has to be the influences of others cause him to be a follower, not a leader. And it's just one of those things. I'm still having a conversation with this guy, trying to get his perspective and try and give him the perspective of other, another perspective, where the perspective he grew up with as a Christian man. But it's just one of those things. I think that social media is a double-edged sword, and that we need to be able to really navigate it in a way where we're able to not only hear each other's perspective, but also be able to influence. And I'm complete on that right there, because it's just one of those things that's continually boggles my mind, that a person would know better but still choose evil, or choose a way that's opposite from what your core belief is. And I'm complete.
Thank you for that. Appreciate your perspective on that, and that is very telling. Whereas you were raised by a black man who influenced you, gave you love, assisted in giving you shelter, nurturing, and you make a choice. And as much as that, and I can agree with you to some extent about the social media influences, but then there's another thing that brings that to bear as well, is that, sometimes we can be so enthralled by our peers that we allow our peers to move us away from our foundation. It's almost like the prodigal son theory, whereas we can see from the Bible story, the prodigal son always had access and everything, and, just in some ways, lost his mind for a moment. And his father saw it, says, okay, he's going to go out there and have righteous living. He's going to go out there and almost waste is part of the inheritance. And the good son or the good child stayed there, played it safe, stayed within the rules. And all of a sudden, when the prodigal son came to himself and recognized, wait a minute, I'm done with all this running around and carousing or whatever. And the son that, didn't step out of line, allegedly, was kind of shocked, like, wait a minute, this guy's coming back and is willing to be a slave, willing to be a servant. This. No, get him the best coat. Put the ring on his finger. We're about to have a feast. My son has returned. And the one that didn't step out, and this is where I'll probably ask Dr. Cheryl, because Dr. Cheryl has a perspective, because she's been extending her education and her reach, which has been helping with her purview and her worldview in regards to the areas of power. And this is the reason why, part of the reason why, the comeback conversation is the way that it is now, because we're recognizing, there are too many times we attempt to, as Black and brown people, to stay within the rules. Be that good individual. Don't rock the boat. Don't be, not saying that you don't have to be loud. Excellent, Mr. Singleton. And don't be loud, but, just stay within those particular graces, because you have to have a particular social norm that they don't have to have. See, if they step out and break the rules, as we've seen people in power, people in situations where they may be moving some level of success, and you start to really check behind the scenes, like, whoa, that wasn't really a good thing, or not so much, not to call it a bad thing, but it was like, wait a minute, you kind of broke the rule there. You ended up being successful. But the person who says, okay, I'm going to be straight-laced, I'm going to just do everything correctly and not rock the boat, doesn't have as much. So Dr. Cheryl, if you can give us a little bit of what you expressed to me, just a little bit. You don't have to give them everything, but give them a little thought about what you've been sharing with me, especially about breaking the rules and recognizing how sometimes we have to step out of our proverbial box. And we'll probably start to bring this conversation to a close this evening. But to me, this is very insightful. This will help cement why we had this comeback conversation today, because we have to recognize that you may be walking around people with a smile on your face and say, oh, you're a good person, you're a good this, a good that. But behind the scenes, boy, they're at that rally. And remember, you're not walking around with hoods anymore. They're walking around with red hats, and sometimes some of them are calling themselves Republican. Dr. Cheryl, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So a couple of things I'm going to share. And first off, get out of your bubble. Get out and go take a class in something that has nothing to do with you. Get out of your bubble. It is the short tides that's holding and keeping you down. You have to go widen your net. So that's what I did. I went out and I started to really look at, I am studying power. I'm studying, my business is called Speak Your Power Now. I said, I understand the communication piece. I got that. I understand the psychological piece. I got that. I even got the leadership piece. But I really don't think I got the power piece. How is people really putting their power into place? So I took a class in Stanford. I paid some money. I went and took the course. I sat in it. And every time I took something, I would come back and share it to Clarke. I said, Clarke, I said, what we're doing, I said, first of all, we got to get out of our box. We got to get into conversations in places and spaces that is out of our norm. So you go take a marketing class. That has nothing to do with that, but it has all to do with that. And then he says, network. If you notice my social media platform now, I am networking. I am out and about. Network, network, network. Tell people about you. If you are just talking to your friends, they're just not going to know about you. Your family is sick and tired of hearing about what you're doing. I got that. I'm clear. Go talk to some people that want to hear you. And thirdly, get out of your own way. You are the person in your way. Guess what? I realize that power speaks to power. You got to break some of the rules. People, you look at Donald Trump right now. He's not the only one that broke the rules. Ronald Reagan, he was an actor. But Donald Trump, he has no government ties whatsoever. Whatsoever. Yeah, let me go run for office. And you know what? I heard something else. I didn't share this with you, Dr. Clarke. I heard something. It said, now be careful when you get into power. Because the things that you've been doing behind the scenes, he's been doing this for years with his property. It's just that now that he's in power, it has come to the surface. If you're back in the day, if you see like the people I'm watching, I watched the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Of Potomac. They just got caught up on charges. All these housewives and things that happen. It's because when you come into power, you get a little media. Your life will become open. So I know that there's going to be some things that people are going to probably pull up about Clarke and I, because we are moving into the space of power. Don't abuse your power when you get in it, though. I want you to look at yourself, get an area, and stick to the area. Just don't jump out of the boat because somebody else is doing something. Just stick to the lane. I've been doing Speak Your Power now since 2013. It was me and my kids, and they was up there. Yay, mommy. It was my husband, and now it's growing. Don't say you can't do something. Don't say, think outside the box. So 3 things I want you to do this week. I want you to go talk in circles or go look at something that has nothing to do with you. Then I want you to get out of your own way. And then I want you to actually network with people. Just network with people. Tell people about what you're doing. And then that way you can then stand in power. And then actually look at 3 people that you see in power now and see how did they get there. The 3 people on my list, I look at Oprah Winfrey, and I look at the 3 Black women because I have to look at them and I'm saying, okay, how did they do that? But also I looked at Kim Kardashian's mother. She's interesting. I watched her masterclass. You gotta look at people that, you're like, what the heck? How did they get there? Because Kim Kardashian didn't get there on her own. Her mother was stirring that pot. And I said, oh, what's her name?
Oh, you're talking about Jenner.
What's her name?
Kris Jenner.
Yes. Kris Jenner, she's a force. So I want you to look at that and do something this week that you could stand in your own power about. And I'm complete.
Excellent. Well, as we start to bring this train into the station for this week, recognize that we live in a world that will attempt, because you have to accept it. And for those of us who've been taught or been exposed to certain things from a spiritual aspect, metaphysical, astrological, psychological, numerological, however you wish to flow with it, you still have to understand that it still goes back to choices. And when you start to recognize that you are choosing your day, you are choosing to either play small or choose to recognize what level of power you do have or influence that you have. And when you start to recognize the necessary influences that you have, you start to understand the level of responsibility that you're navigating and being governed through. No one's saying it's going to be easy. No one says that the road is going to be smooth. Because every single individual that is successful has to go through some bumps and some roads or even some failures. Just because you experience a failure doesn't mean that you have failed. See, failure is still in movement. Failed means that becomes a little finite because you add that suffix to it. Don't position yourself to be failed in life. You may experience some losses. You may experience some shifts as you're allowing yourself to navigate and to develop. But as you start to work on your ontology of who you are and who you are positioning yourself to be, you start to understand that you are as powerful as you so choose to be. You are as small, your business is either as small or as great as you so choose to be. If you desire for greatness, then you understand. That means you have to work through expansion. Expansion means reinvestment, R&D, research and development, as you may hear from in other standpoints. But those are the areas. How are you marketing yourself? How are you advertising yourself? Like in a couple of seconds, I'm gonna put up the little image, not the little image, but the image that shows, the ways that you can support it, this platform financially. Because that doesn't go in my pocket. That goes into how do we expand this? How do we get more eyes? And part of that is through you. Part of that is actually through you. Because the greatest word of mouth, the greatest advertisement are the people who are being stimulated by what they're hearing. And if you think that is only for you, then we're playing too small. This thing is not only for a select few or only these people. And as I've proven today about this algorithmic situation, you can get yourself out there, even if you're just attempting to stimulate a simple conversation. And I recognize I was breaking a rule. I had the audacity to think that I can put something out there to be respectful and be proud of someone in my community, even though they were far from perfect. To recognize that, wait a minute, as a fellow human being, we can celebrate this. If you can celebrate y'all stuff, we can celebrate our stuff. And just to see that, wait a minute, from this social experiment, there's still so many positives, regardless of the vitriol and all the nasty comments and stuff that, if you used to see some of these people in the face, you probably, in one dispensation, you just walk up to them and be like, aren't you such and such? Like, yeah, wow. But then that's not the way to go about it. Because as we've learned, sometimes people will show their true heart. Regardless of their sit there and try to act like, oh yeah, I like Black people. Okay. Thank you for your lip service. But thank you for showing me your heart. Because then I know how to interact and rock out with you. That's why it's good. Trump, if anything, Trump has allowed us to be clear that people are now emboldened or moving through their respective social licensure to feel like that stuff that was really bubbling under the surface is all up. They're not even spitting it up. It's up. It's out in the open and they don't care. And Kendrick said it best. They're not like us. And it's okay. But we're not doing the shuck and jive. We're not doing the tap dance. We're not doing the two-step. Now, as we continue to stay woke, as we continue to expand this platform, as we continue to elevate these conversations, still getting back into the teachings and things of that nature, because I had a PowerPoint ready for today. That'll come next week. This was the teaching today. This was the social experiment that we had a conversation around, that we had a comeback conversation around. And for us to have our natural dialogue to recognize, wait a minute, we are not small people. We're not relegated to the black or to the back. You can stand up in the forefront and be empowered. And it's not so much about puffing out your chest, but stand there proud and recognize, yo, wait a minute. You are standing on the shoulders of our forefathers who have empowered us to be like, wait a minute. We didn't go through what we went through for us to stay minimized or to be in a space where certain people think this thing could be great again, which means you're attempting to bring me back into a space that we're not we're not allowing some of you to think that we're going back to. So as we bring this thing to a close, once again, financially, you can support via Cash App, $ Gregory Clarke, D-Min, Venmo, same thing without the $ mark, or if you so choose, you can do it via Zelle or PayPal, and it's the same email address, esquire971@gmail.com. And as we close for this evening, let us recognize that walk with this next week, your head up high. Walk in this next week that there's a high probability we'll still be in a federal shutdown. So continue to pray for those people in our respective communities, especially people who look like us that may be experiencing, those opportunities because they got their last paycheck last week. So that means going forward now, regardless if they're TSA or some sort of essential space and they work for the federal government, they'll be mandated to still show up to work while not receiving a check. So let's be mindful as other humans to each other, being respectful, checking on your people, checking on that person. And if we do that, we go above the race baiting or the race vitriol, and we stay in power. I love you. Continue to spread the platform, spread the message. Let's get some more eyeballs in here and people who need to hear this. Because this is not a cocoon. As Dr. Charlie Kirk said, let's expand the network. I'm going to do my part. I'm going to ask you to do yours. Peace and blessings. Y'all have a great week and see y'all all next Tuesday.
Blessings to you too, Doc.
Amen.
Good night.
Blessings.
Good night.